So just depiction here, and again, some of the specifics that went with the EKC 326A when that was our main controller on these systems is it was used for those two specific valves that we keep going back to on the high pressure side of the system, because we do have some new options today with something like a CCMT. But on the high pressure side of the system, the controller only output a 0 to 10 volt signal. So you had no way to control a stepper valve directly off of the EKC for the high pressure side of the system. It had to be the ICMTS because of that 0 to 10 that the EKC was giving you.
Yeah, because I've been noticing more and more systems with the CCMT valves or CCM valve on, either or, like high pressure or the flash gas bypass. And that is because of the 0 to 10 volts.
Yep. And now you could feasibly do the ICMTS on the high pressure side of the system, but you'd need some kind of a valve driver essentially that would take that 0 to 10 output and convert that into a stepper signal. So now you're talking about two controllers to be able to
more complex,
get that solution in play, right? The receiver side, we are a stepper valve driven directly out of the EKC. So CCM was our original model for this. It had a lower max working pressure than the CCMT that we came out with later on. But the CCM, because we knew it was designed for the receiver side of the system and then those lower working pressures were okay for it, that was the initial valve that we would typically see used for the receiver bypass. And then we did eventually transition into a CCMT. That's our standard, I'll say CO2 valve. It doesn't apply to the cases, but that's our standard valve today. So regardless of whether it's a high pressure valve or a receiver bypass valve application it's being used in, that's the valve that we typically see used with our pack controllers today.
Yep.
There are a few settings in the EKC. So if we're doing something which most people are with heat reclaim, then there is an option where you can feed a signal into the EKC to tell that we need to maybe bump up the standard setting that we're shooting for in the gas cooler. Maybe we need to raise that a little higher to get the optimal heat reclaim out of the system. So there are some optional features that you've got available in there as well for heat reclaim.
And so that would be, so you'd have to send a signal to the controller, say, okay, it's activated. We're going into heat reclaim mode. It'll send a signal there, kind of like closing a switch potentially. But inside there would be parameters to tell the high pressure valve and the flash gas bypass, well, the high pressure valve, what to do. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's actually an analog signal. So as that 0 to 5, 0 to 10, as that signal increases, we'll increase the offset on the standard set point that we're shooting for in the gas cooler. So it's not just that we need heat reclaim, increase the pressure by or set point by 100 psi. It could be as that heat reclaim requirement gradually increases, that we're going to increase that pressure set point 50 pounds, 100 pounds, 150 pounds until we reach the max setting.
Wow, that's so innovative for when they, coming out with this stuff way ahead of its time.
Yep, and that's something we've carried over with the strategy. So it's it's something that still holds true today. I think the second main bullet point here is something else that we get from time to time, and it's people asking, can I tie this EKC into whatever supervisory system I'm using? And typically this is just a standalone device. There were some echelon options mainly just for tying them back into Danfoss system managers, but by and large, the 326 was a standalone device where if somebody's going to troubleshoot it, it would normally have to be done on site where they're looking through the parameters on the display that's right there at the device.
Yeah, because I see a lot of times now that you can at least read what's going on the main controller from that.
Yep. And so whether people had redundant sensors going back to the device that had remote access or whatever else they might have done, there's options there. But as far as the 326 itself, you were going to be standing in front of it to do anything with it directly.
You can just see it, give you an idea of what to do before you go to that call potentially when you're on call at 2 o'clock in the morning.